All right, guys, so a real quick follow-up on how to do ratios. So it's going to be just like at the beginning of the year. So the first thing we need to figure out is, let's say I'm going to be talking about water. So I need to figure out the molar mass of water. And so the way that I'm going to do that is I'm going to take my hydrogen. I'm going to look at the periodic table and see that it's 1. Now in the past we talked about 1 AMU when we were talking about the size of one atom of hydrogen. But now we're going to be talking about 1 mole. And so that 1 is now going to become a gram. So 1 gram times 2 means that to the molecular mass, hydrogen is going to contribute 2 grams. Oxygen, looking at the periodic table, has a molecular weight of 16, but we're going to convert this to our molecular mass, so it's going to be grams. There's only 1 of them, so that means it will contribute 16 grams to the molar mass. So the total molar mass of water is going to be 18 grams. And so what is a mole? Well, we talked about that, like, as far as when we talk about a dozen. If I say we have a dozen eggs, you know that means we have 12 eggs. Well, it doesn't just apply to eggs, it applies to anything that I want to say there's a dozen of. I have a dozen students, I have a dozen trees, I have a dozen flowers. They're all the same thing. They all represent 12. So in this case, a mole, M-O-L, is representative of 6.023 times 10 to the 23rd. So 6.0, you have 2,3 here, and you have 2,3 here, times 10 to the 23rd. That's 1 mole. So it doesn't matter what I have 1 mole of. 1 mole of flowers would be 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd. 1 mole of eggs, 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd. 1 mole of water, 6.023 times 10 to the 23rd particles of water. Okay? So now what I'm going to do is, well, what does this mean? So 18 grams, what does molecular mass mean? Well, it simply means that 1 mole of water is equal to 18 grams. Or it's also equal to 6.023 times 10 to the 23rd particles. Okay? And so now that's great. So I know that the molecular mass of water is 18 grams. But what if I want to know how many moles? And I know that that's 1 mole. 18 grams is 1 mole. But what if I want to know, I don't know, let's say I have 64 grams of water. And I want to know how many moles. So we're going to get into our ratios here. And we're going to start with what's given. And what's given, remember all this stuff? What's given is this. And what I want to end with is my moles. So I'm going to take 64 grams of water over 1. Because remember, our given goes over 1. And so now, our conversion factor, you sit there and say, but Mrs. Jordan, what's our conversion factor? Well, we have it up here. We said that 1 mole was 18 grams. Well, since my grams is up here, I want grams down here. So 18 grams. And what did 18 grams equivalent to? 1 mole. This is why I said if you caught on to this at the beginning, it would be a lot easier now. So we've gotten to that point. And so then when we do that, we're going to take 64 divided by 18 and get 3.56 moles. Remember, my grams are going to cancel out, and I end with my moles that I want to end with. So then there's my answer. Let's say that I had 5.7 moles of water, and I want to know how many grams of water that is. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to take my given, oops, sorry, it should be moles of water because I didn't cross out my water up here. So 5.7 moles of water over 1, given goes over 1, times, I'm going to use my, it's called the mole ratio. And so I know that I want to cancel out moles, so I have 1 mole of water is 18 grams of water. We figured that out from the molecular mass. And so then I do this, and I take my 5.7, I multiply it by 18 grams. Don't forget, we're going to cross things out. So my moles cross out. I end up with grams of water, which is exactly what I want to end with. And so I get 102.6 grams of H2O. And that's all you're doing with these ratios for now.